Hello everyone, welcome to another video on my channel. Today we'll be looking at guitar mixing. I have had a few requests from certain people asking for this video, so I thought let's give it a go. So I've got my session open here. It's just a quick mix of a song by Ellie Rises. It's called Send You Away, I think. The stem sounded pretty cool, so I thought we'll use this song for the mixing video. So let's have a listen to the drums. Not the best, but you know, it'll do. And then let's have a listen to the bass. Again, you can tell it's MIDI, but again, it'll do for this video. So then let's have a look at the guitars. So first things first, when I come to guitar mixing, is I basically put it in a folder track or a summing track. It basically groups those two together, so we have a final send or bus for the tracks. I also pan my guitars hard left and hard right. So guitar A is 64 to the left and guitar B is 63 to the right. So overall that will give us a nice wide feel for the guitars. Now just before I play these guitars, I want to say that the tone is already baked in, straight from the amp, bounced off, fresh, ready to mix. So the amp I used actually is Joey Sturgis Tone's Guilty Pleasure. It is a really good amp, particularly for this kind of genre. Nice high gain amp. So we'll just have a look at these, listen to these guitars. So overall, not the best quality. I've definitely heard better. The picking technique, it was a bit scratchy. You can tell somewhere. There's not much sustain in the actual chug. So we've got our guitars panned hard left and hard right. We've got them sent to a bus. So the first step that I do for mixing my guitars is EQ. Now we're going to add Waves Q2 to each of these tracks. Now these EQs are going to be exactly the same to make things even. Want it to sound nice and even all across the board. So let's go to 4K and 700 Hertz. We'll sharpen the Q value to, let's say, around 26, and for this one we'll go for 19, and we just want to slowly sharpen that one up a bit more. 32, that'll do. There we go. It just cleans up that those nasty frequencies that you can't really hear when listening to it regularly, but you can definitely notice the difference. So let's do a and B comparison. Is before the EQ adjustment. And here is after. So now we're just going to go ahead and copy and paste these settings to the other EQ adjustments so we can get a nice even tone out of them. So here's both guitars together with the EQ. Now the next step for me when I mix guitars is more EQ actually. This time we'll be using the API 560. Here we are. The API 560 by Waves. So with this plugin I use it mainly as a little guitar sweetener, I guess you could call it. It just adds a bit of presence, a bit of sharpness to the guitars, makes them stand out a bit more in the mix. So let's go through and make some changes. So 16K is going to be plus 2 decibels, 8K is 1 decibel, 4K is going to be left alone because we've actually already subtracted that with Q2 plugin, so we can leave 4K alone. 2K is going to be set at 2.5. This mid region, about 1 to 3K, is the most important region for guitars mainly. It's got the most characteristics, it's where the kind of picking noise comes from. You can add attack, presence and all that good stuff with this frequency range. So 1K is going to be 1.5. 500 we're going to leave alone, and to add a bit of oomph, 250 is going to be 1, and the rest are going to be left alone. So let's do this for the other side. So let's go ahead and listen to that in a mix. While we are listening to this in the mix, we will be setting levels as well, just to get a good balance across all of the instruments. So that so far is sounding pretty good. We've got 2 EQs. Now the next step I do is actually another EQ. This time we're going to be doing some high and low pass filters. So let's get up REQ2. Now let's set our Q value to 1.4. Set it to the actual high pass option. Now for frequency, we want to scoop that muddy low end out, but we also want to keep a little bit in for the kind of oomph and impact of the chugs. While the low end is mainly taken care of by the kick and the bass, we still want a little bit just to reinforce that. And then the high end we are going to chop off at 12,000 and put a similar number in for that and set it to the low pass option. And now let's copy and paste to the other side. There we go, let's see how that sounds. But the main purpose for this EQ is just to scoop out some of them muddy low end frequencies and those kind of fizzy annoying highs. So we should see a subtle difference, I think, to the guitars in this mix. Now with us doing that, a lot of that annoying muddy low end has been cut out. Now in a lot of cases it does actually save the guitars from taking over the bass and almost acting as a bass instrument. In some tunings, some songs, the tuning can be so low on the guitars that obviously sometimes you do have to EQ a lot lower along the frequency range to accommodate for those low tunings. But in this song the tuning is fairly high. I think this tuning is drop C, so for that reason we'll leave it at 110. So the final plugin on the individual tracks is going to be a compressor, and the compressor we're going to be using is my favourite one from Waves, if we can find it. Where are you? There you are. Come on. Here we go. Yeah, this has to be my favourite compressor from Waves. So, we're going to be going -10 on the threshold. Attack we're going to be setting at 10, and gain is going to be left at 0. And this will be exactly the same for our B side. Now we are going to have to turn the guitars down a little bit more, as this compression is going to give them a bit of volume. So let's hear them in the mix. So they're sounding pretty good to me so far. So the next step we're going to be taking on these guitars is we're actually going to be moving over to the bus now. Now the first plugin I use on the bus is the Waves 550B. We're going to use this to basically add a bit more mid-range around the where I said was the most important range for frequencies for guitars. 2.5k, we're going to add 2 dB there. 1.5 we'll add 2 dB, and 500 just to get some nice rounded tones from the guitars we're going to take at 500. So let's turn analog off and let's hear that in the mix. So I'm actually going to take this mid-range 2.5k section out. It does tend to add a bit much sometimes, and in this case it has, so I'm just going to take that out and listen to it with just the 1.5 and the 500. That's sounding good to me. So second to last step is another plugin from Waves. This one's called the Center. Now, all we have to do with this one is boost this knob here, or slider, let's say about, yeah, let's go 2. Yeah. I'm not entirely sure what this does, but it just adds a bit of an edge in the stereo field of the guitars. Just makes them sit better in the mix, so let's have a listen. That's sounding nice, and the final step is going to be, if we can find it, limiter, L1. So this is famous for guitars. I love it on guitars. Works really well. So let's just play through a section of the song and set the levels. Now let's just have a quick overview of the final product and what we've done. So let's do it before. and then after. As you can hear there, it's just brought the guitars way more to life. There's more spring, there's more energy, more presence, and it generally sounds better. So that's going to be it for my guitar mixing video. I hope you enjoyed. If you're new, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.